Yo, what's up? It's Brother Jack. You watching Lights Out TV.
This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, and with me via Zoom all the way from the United States of America, delighted and privileged to be joined by the former WBA super welterweight champion, Austin, and the future, Austin, Trout. Austin, good afternoon to you all the way from the UK. How you doing?
I'm blessed, man. Good morning to you all the way from Texas.
First of all, thank you for taking your time and allowing us to get an interview in with you. We've never interviewed you before on Lights Out, so it's the first time for us. Just want to obviously start off the interview by asking, how are you doing? How's the family? Are you all keeping safe throughout this COVID pandemic time?
Everybody's good. Everybody's healthy, for the most part, happy. So we are blessed beyond our wildest dreams.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear everybody's good and that you're doing well and everyone's keeping safe. You stepped out in the ring in February, putting an impressive performance against Juan Armando Galvan. Really good win for yourself to start off the year. What can you tell us about a next fight date and a potential opponent?
I'm in the works with that now. One of my handlers, Najee, he's out there from the UK. He's working on getting something together now. Hopefully in July at the latest. I'm training, staying in shape. So shout out to Najee and High Tech Boxing for getting these next fights lined up.
Very good. 35 years of age, former world champion. You fought practically all the big names in and around your division. You're still in the 154 division. You've been in there for over 10 years. Is the overall plan from now till whenever you do decide to call it a day to stay at 154, or would you be willing to maybe go up to 160 or even consider moving down to 147?
Well, so for the right fight, I would definitely go to 160. And I've actually, my last two fights have been around the 147 weight class. So 147 is in the plans to make some good fights. I will stay in the 154 for the right fight, but the plan is to campaign at 47.
When you talk about the right fights at 147, I take it you're talking about the likes of the Errol Spencers, the Manny Pacquiao's, and the Terence Crawfords.
Hey, and the Amir Khans too.
And the Amir Khans. Well, we're obviously talking about that little mix, the three world champions in that division. Throughout the last week, it was reported that Pacquiao would be taking on Terence Crawford, and now talks between them two have kind of gone up in smoke, and now we're understanding that Errol Spence might be taking on Manny Pacquiao. What's your thoughts on that situation between the three world champions right now at the moment?
It's getting to the point where we just want to see them fight. And if they're not going to fight each other, then they need to fight the Sean Porters. Although Spence has already fought Sean. Shout out to Spence. He's the one, his resume is up there. Or the Thurmans or the Trouts. If they're not going to fight each other, they need to get, some big names out there so we can at least find some type of distinction between them.
As you just mentioned, Amir Khan, he's still a name that figures in that 147 division, and to many, he's still considered a big name. That's the fight I understand you're very interested in. What's got to be done for that fight to be made? Because we all know Amir Khan has come out in the last few weeks and said that he still wants to have maybe one or two more fights before he does decide to call it a day.
Yeah, well, it's really going to be up to Khan overall. Like I said, I have my guy Najee Harvey working on it. Hopefully it can come to fruition. I'm just available, making myself available, putting my name out there so that these matchups can start getting some steam, get some some fame, and the people can start calling for it, and then I can start getting these fights. So I pray him, Amir Khan, the ball's in his court, and if he wants to have a decent name on his record before he goes, he should fight me.
If that fight with Amir Khan is to be made, what happens?
Well, then we fight. Then I beat him up.
And obviously, I know you wouldn't step into a fight if you didn't think you would
Oh,
win.
no, I definitely could win that fight. That's a
How,
fight that
how
I wouldn't call for a fight that I could win. But I think I could beat everybody. So you see me calling out everybody.
how do you beat Amir Khan? Do you think you stop him? Or do you beat him by points?
I'd have to stop him. I'm assuming that we would fight over in his territory, and I don't get close decisions, so I'll be going for the kill.
When you talk about close decisions, I mean, following your career, you fought the best of the best, both Charlo brothers, Miguel Cotto, Jared Hurd, and of course, the pound for pound king in Canelo Alvarez. It's been 8 years since that fight. Looking back on it, 8 years later, do you still agree with the end decision, and do you still think you were hard done by out in Texas?
Yeah, I think I was bulldozed over by Texas, but crying over spilled milk doesn't get you more milk.
That fight with Canelo was a fascinating fight to watch. Many people believe that you're one of few fighters that actually ask questions of Canelo Alvarez on the night. On the 5th of May, he takes on Billy Joe Saunders, another southpaw. Judging by what you've seen of Billy Joe Saunders so far in his career, what chances do you give of Billy Joe Saunders winning that fight?
I give Billy Joe a very good chance. The thing about Billy Joe Saunders is that he kind of fights up to his competition, and he also kind of fights down to his competition. So he may look, average or just a little bit above average with a below average opponent. But when he gets in there with somebody, that's amazing, he elevates to the task. And so if you want to judge by his past fights, that's not accurate because he didn't have anybody elite in there. I think Billy Joe Saunders has the style, the footwork, the speed, and ring generalship to give Canelo major problems. On the other hand, though, Canelo, who has gotten arguably better every fight, won't be an easy target to fall into the traps that Saunders is going to set. I think he's done his homework. He's watching the film. It's going to be a good fight, but I don't think anybody should count Saunders out. In fact, depending on what the odds are, I'm going to put some money on Saunders for the upset.
How much money are you going to be willing to put on Billy Joe Saunders come the 5th of May?
I don't know. You throw 1,000 down or something, man. I'm not a big bettor.
Fair enough. As I mentioned, when you look back at your performance, you're one of few fighters that ask questions of Canelo Alvarez on the night. If you were to give advice to Billy Joe Saunders going into that fight, what advice would you give on how to beat Canelo Alvarez?
Fight your fight. No matter what the judges say, the crowd says, anybody says, just fight your fight, and you'll be able to build off it.
Okay, perfect. Just pick your brains a little bit now. Just ask you a few predictions. We've got a current situation over here in the UK where we've got 2 heavyweight champions of the world in Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But when you mentioned the heavyweight division, you can't mention it without not mentioning Deontay Wilder. Where do you think his future lies in this division, and do you still think he has what it takes to mix with the likes of Fury?
You mean Deontay Wilder?
Yeah.
Absolutely. His only loss is to one of the pound for pound kings in this game. Tyson Fury is probably the most skilled heavyweight that I've seen in a very long time. For his size, he's got such speed and he's elusive and his ring generalship. And so, to sit there and say that Deontay Wilder isn't a contender anymore because he lost to arguably the best heavyweight that we've seen in a long time, since the Klitschko. That's not fair. He's absolutely, most definitely a player. We know that right hand is the equalizer. And as much boxing skills as you have, it doesn't matter if you get touched by that right hand, it's over. Ask Luis Ortiz twice. So he's definitely a major player. And really, he's the one, Deontay Wilder's the one that brought the heavyweight division back, into the forefront, in my opinion.
Many people are very they criticize Deontay Wilder a lot, not because of performances or because of how he performed in the ring, but due to some of the reasons he gave to why he lost the fight to Tyson Fury, i.e., the whole spike,
Yeah.
accusing Mark Breland of perhaps of foul play. It's just those things that have rubbed up people the wrong way. What's your thoughts on the reasons he gave to why he lost the fight against Tyson?
I didn't like the excuses. I think the excuses end up hurting him more than it helped him. You know, if he just took it on the chin, like, you know, he got me, that's fine. I'll get him back. If he just took it like that, he probably would have had the 3 match. It would have been the rubber match. But because of the excuses, I think a lot of people were definitely turned off. I was too, but you got to look at it like this. He ain't never lost before. It's been a long time since he's last lost. Winners don't like losing, and when winners get into a situation where they are very uncomfortable, i.e. they lost, it's hard for a winner to accept that. It's hard. So, you know, he did what most humans do, is deflect and make excuses. I'm sure if anything, biggest thing he's got to learn is just to learn how to win with the same grace you lose in, and vice versa.
As I mentioned, Fury versus Joshua, well, hopefully is going to be made within the next few days. It's been a situation that's just currently been just dragging on. But when the fight does get made and we do get to see it, fingers crossed, what's your prediction for that fight?
I like Joshua. I'm rooting for Joshua. I'm going for Joshua. And not just – I like Joshua's skill set and how he fights in the ring. I also like how Anthony Joshua carries himself outside the ring. You know, he's loyal to his faith. You know, he's not out here acting up and embarrassing the boxing community. In fact, he's somebody that boxing can look at with admiration and respect. And you know, I'm glad that he represents the sport as a whole. And on the other side, though, I love Tyson Fury. I love his antics. I love how, you know, the trash he talks. I love his story. I love where he came from, you know, being almost 400 pounds, addicted to drugs and whatnot, and then turns around and did what he did. And he, too, is also a great representation of boxing. So we have good representatives of the sport coming together to fight. I'm cheering for Joshua, but I know this game, and I think Tyson Fury is going to be victorious that night.
Well, listen, I mean, a lot of people have a different opinion about it, and you can't really split them. Both are at the top of the game, in their peak, which is the reason why it makes for a good fight. Austin, is there anything else you'd like to add as we bring the interview to an end?
No, just keep a lookout this summer. I plan to get real busy. I even plan to come over across the pond and get some international experience, and I'm looking forward to it. It's whack here in America right now, so it's time to get up out here and go see what the world could bring.
Well, listen, when you do make the trip across the pond, hopefully we can catch up with you over in the UK and maybe face to face. But no, Austin, just want to thank you very much for your time, and we'll definitely keep an eye out on your social media pages for your next up-and-coming fight. And who knows, maybe a fight with Amir Khan, perhaps, I don't know, maybe in Manchester or Bolton.
Hey, I'm down. You let them know. I'll come.
The floor's all yours. The floor's all yours. Feel free to call him out right now if you want.
Amir Khan, let's go ahead and give the fans a great fight. You've given them plenty of good fights, but, you know, at the end of the day, you've never fought a fighter like me. And the fans deserve it. If anybody else, the fans deserve it. So I'll be coming over there to take you on as soon as you agree.
Well, listen, makes for a good fight. Fingers crossed it happens eventually. Austin, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
All right, have a good one, man. Blessings.
Top man. Austin Trout, thank you very much for talking to Lights Out, champ.